Good evening again. I'd like to call the committee the whole meeting for the Village of Cary for July 15th, 2025 to order with roll call, please.
Collier,
Here.
Dudak,
Here.
McAlpine,
Here.
Persina,
Here.
Stefani,
Here.
Walrath,
Here.
Koenig.
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now moving forward to the public comment, where the public has the opportunity for public access to address the committee of the whole about issues not otherwise on the agenda. The committee welcomes public comment at its meetings. Each speaker is limited to a total of 3 minutes to ensure that other members of the public can speak and allow time for official business to occur. Those wishing to address the committee during public comments are encouraged to provide their contact name on the sign-in sheet so that they may be recognized and called to the podium. The committee will not respond to public comments during this portion of the meeting. When appropriate, I will refer the issue to the appropriate staff member for follow-up. Responses will be made by the village staff to the email or telephone number provided on the sign-in sheet during the meeting. Is there anybody here who'd like to address the committee of the whole? We'll go ahead and close public comments at 6:35. We have 3 things on our discussions this evening. First is TAP telehealth presentation by MD Healthways. You taking this, Nick?
I got this for you as well. So tonight we have Brian, who's going to be speaking on behalf of MD Health Pathways and answer any questions as well near the end of his conversation.
Thank you, City Manager, Village Administrator. Great to be here, Mayor, Village Trustees. My name is Brian Davis. I'm with MD Health Pathways, and the product that we produce is called TAP Telehealth. I will tell you that in my career in local government, I've spent 25 years working with cities specifically. I have been inside of more than 2,000 city halls. I quit counting after 2,000, so I don't know how many more. I've been in over 1,000 council meetings. I can tell you, working with National League of Cities for 17 years, working with ICMA for about 8 years, I've never seen a program that has a positive impact on a community like the one I'm going to share with you tonight. I will also tell you that this is not an older program. It is new. We have less than 20 cities. We have about 17 cities right now that are participating. They absolutely love it, and I'm just very appreciative to be here tonight and to present this to you. Okay, let's make sure I don't mess this up. Okay, so what is TAP Telehealth? This is a program that essentially puts a doctor in everyone's pocket in the Village of Cary. To be able to text a doctor, have a FaceTime interaction with a doctor from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I always like to say up front, because I hate a bait and switch, this is going to sound like a wonderful program, and you're going to say, what's the catch? The catch is that you have to pay for it. And to do that, we put a $9 charge on everybody's water bill. That's the elephant in the room. I always like to address that first. I think once you hear how we do this, that it'll be something that you'll see is worth doing, hopefully. But I will also tell you that the $9 charge has been reduced to $6 in McHenry County and in the Metro West COG because of the Village of Algonquin. Village President Sosine is has been a real pioneer for us, and we're allowing any city to participate at that $6 rate that approves it by the end of November. So we have a lot of time. Again, happy to be here and tell you about this program. Dr. Dirk Parrott is the current County Health Director, County Health Authority for Rockwall County, Texas. He received a congressional medal during COVID for his efforts in monoclonal antibodies. He's a 20-year ER doctor. He said, my typical day is diagnosing a child that has strep throat or a mom that has the flu. I walk them down to billing. I write a $5 prescription, and they get charged $2,000. And he said, it kills me every time. And so what he ended up doing is he would give his number to his patients that he knew needed help. He got up to about 200 patients. He said, this is a very small inconvenience for me, a huge benefit for them. And he sort of had this idea for TAP Telehealth because he said, if you know a doctor, if you're friends with a doctor, or if your family member is a doctor, and you can text them and get medical help, you're ahead of the game. If you don't have that and you don't have insurance, or maybe you do have insurance, and where I live, it's a four-week wait to get into my primary care provider. So when I get sick, I'm going to urgent care, and I'm paying a high cost for that. So he said there's got to be a better way. There was ARPA funding after COVID. One of the cities in Texas said, we would like to do something different. Dirk said, well, I've created this platform. Let's try it. It is a 10-digit phone number. You save it in your phone as doctor or TAP Telehealth. I have it in mine as TAP Telehealth. You text that number, and within 2 minutes, a doctor or a PA is responding to you, and Illinois licensed. So I love pictures. I love images. I don't love bullet points. So essentially, I have so many examples. I've already used it 15 times since December. We will cover for $6 a month up to 10 people in a household, up to 10 people in a business. So not 6 times 10, $6, $72 a year gets every household. For apartments, for multifamily, we do it, and this isn't a joke, we do it for $6, $72 a year for the whole population of that complex. If we see egregious use, we will ask the village board if we could contact the owner of that property to negotiate a higher rate if they have 400, 500, 800 tenants. But for the first year, we don't want that to be a barrier to entry. We cover everybody for $72 for the whole community. Businesses up to 10 people. Now, when I say 10 people, I have a household of 4. Actually, I have one that's in college, and he's interning with us this summer. I'm putting him to trial by fire here this week. But I have my parents who live 2 cities over from me. They're on my system, or they're under my household network. And if my mom has a rash and she's worried about it, or my dad has a mole, they text every day. They can text a doctor. Diabetes, you can text a doctor every day. There's no additional cost. So it looks just like this. And if the doctor isn't sure about the feedback he or she is getting, they will FaceTime you and say, hey, let me hear you. Let me look at you. Nothing is better. The gold standard in medicine is to have a doctor touch you, put hands on you. Nothing's worse than never going to a doctor. So the system is all driven by a cell phone. We will immediately come on, and to give you another example, my wife and I were in the car. She was taking me to the doctor, and she said, babe, I hate to tell you this, but I'm getting a urinary tract infection. I know I'm getting one. I know when they come on, typically that means she has to go to the doctor. There's a urine sample that has to take place, and then there's a diagnosis, and then the medicine. I said, well, let's use our service. So using Apple CarPlay, I said, hey, Siri, text TAP Telehealth. It said, what would you like to tell TAP Telehealth? I said, I'd like to tell that my wife believes she has a urinary tract infection, and what can we do? Within 30 seconds, a doctor came back and said, hey, I know that you probably know when you're getting one of these. I do have to ask some questions to rule out kidney infection. And he asked those questions. She answered them. He said, I'm totally good with calling you in. Do you normally take Bactrim when you get these? She said, yes. And on the way home from taking me to the doctor, we picked up her drugs too, and she was feeling better within 8 hours. So it's a real-life example of how this can just be a benefit. Now think of folks that don't have insurance. Our average prescription cost for the uninsured is $12. We've partnered with, we're based in Dallas. We partner with Mark Cuban for his Cost Plus drugs, so we can get very, very discounted medicine for those that need it. If you If you do go to Walgreens, CVS, Walmart, in the situation with my wife, when she had her urinary tract infection, they even told me which one of the pharmacies in my neighborhood had it at the cheapest price. I said, it was only $2 less at Walmart. I'd just as soon go to CVS because they have my insurance on file, and we did that. So if you have insurance, it's business as usual when you show up to the pharmacy. If you don't, then they will use cost plus drugs, or you can pay cash. So when you think of the doctors on the other side of the line or the phone, it's mostly women who are trying to raise a family and are wanting to stay current in their profession. So ER professionals that are taking a leave to raise 1 or 2 or 3 babies, or nurse practitioner that has a young family, they can stay home and they can text. They can have cartoons on and they can be texting. And that's the beauty of our system. We have a scribe that's like that will collect the data up front, that then dumps that to the doctor, and the doctor makes a diagnosis and the recommendation. Everything we do is in the United States. We don't offshore any doctors. Doctors will be licensed again in your state. They have to prescribe medicine in your state. Dirk, he is our founder. He's very passionate about healthcare. Always, Simon Sinek, start with why. What are we trying to do? Why are we doing this? We believe there's a huge problem right now in our nation in healthcare. With the recent changes in the federal government, a lot of Medicaid is getting cut back. A lot of clinics are closing. Down in South Texas, there's like 300 clinics that are closing. People need access to health care. In many states, they require citizens to show documentation to go to the ER, to show citizenship, to just go to an urgent care. So that demographic isn't going to the doctor at all. We don't ask that. This is concierge medicine, and I want to be very clear about that. There's no insurance with this. It's straight concierge medicine. Trustee Spella in Algonquin said this is essentially what wealthy people pay $10,000 a year to have access to. We're doing it for $6 a month, which is true. But he wouldn't let me steal that. He told me I had to quote the source. Our impact, again, the single mom with 3 kids that isn't feeling good and needs medicine quickly, doesn't want to take the kids to the doctor's office. Those that don't have any health insurance at all, those that need medicine. We have a gentleman on our team who moved from Monterrey, Mexico when he was 3 years old. He was raised in a Spanish-speaking home, went to a Spanish-speaking school in Colorado Springs until he finally learned English and went to the high school and graduated valedictorian. He was Dr. Dirk, he was his scribe, and he was in med school. He passed the MCAT. He was on his way. He told me he was 23 before he ever saw a doctor. And his grandmother would make him drink this boiling water with garlic and onion and honey and said, this is better than medicine. And he always believed it. And he said, looking back, he knows that she knew that wasn't better than medicine, but that was all they had. And he said, this is why he put med school on hold to help us roll this program out. Medical bankruptcy, we see it all the time. Imagine being able to just text a doctor for $6 a month and ask any question. And I'll give you some stats. We have 85% of your citizens, our numbers show of the 17 cities we have, 85% will stay in this program. You'll have 15% that opt out. Maybe they don't need it. Maybe they have great insurance. Maybe they like to use their telemedicine. But this is not Teladoc and it's not telemedicine. You don't have to set up a time. You don't have to pay per use. Teladoc is paid on a throughput, so doctors make more. The more patients they see, we put our doctors on retainer. They're under no stress. They're under no desire to get through quickly. We spend time with our patients. So the first city that launched this, they came back after a year, and the city manager said, I've got good news and bad news. He said, the good news is this is the most used city service in the town of Ferris. He's so passionate about this, he would probably come here and talk to you from Dallas, Texas. He said, this was by far the most used city service in our city, more than parks, more than library, more than police and fire. It reduced EMS dispatch by 20%. He said we had quite a few what he would refer to as frequent flyers, folks that got scared and would call all the time. Now they put a magnet on the refrigerator and say, text a doctor next time, and you'll have medical care instead of a paramedic taking you to a hospital when you may or may not need to go. He said the bad news is that he was afraid to lose the service when their grant ran out. And that's when Dirk went to several city managers in Rockwall County, the county judge, and said, how can we fund this for a city? And I will tell you, I've met one person with a city that has a similar service with their local doctor, and she paid $255 a month for her family to text the doctor. And we can do it for $6 in Cary, $6. One of the city managers, and it's now a customer of ours, Troop, Texas, said we put $3 on everyone's water bill for CareFlight. And if you get a situation where you have to have a helicopter take you to another hospital, it's $80,000. So if you have this CareFlight, $3 a month on your water bill, 98% of their citizens stay in it. You can opt out of it, but 98% stay in. He goes, that's the model. So that's what we did. And our largest city will be Garland, Texas. They're on a August 5th council agenda. They have 250,000 people and not one hospital in Garland, Texas. I'll also say, 20% reduction in EMS dispatch, which is a huge savings for you. Every village employee and elected official gets a service for free. And we do that in kind because you're helping us roll this out to the community. You will have it for free. Your employees will have it for free, which will lower your insurance premiums because you're not having ER and urgent care hits to your premium. This is the one that blows me away. 97% of our text engagements do not go to a doctor because we handle it, which means a lot of folks, are not going to the doctor at all. Now they're using this, so that skews it a little bit. But then those that don't need to go aren't going. They're getting prescription drugs, they're looking at a doctor, they're seeing a doctor, and we're able to negotiate in Texas. We're in Texas and South Carolina and about to be in Algonquin. We've negotiated $75 cash pay x-rays, $250 CT scans, and $475 MRIs. I paid that when I tore my rotator cuff, and I have insurance. So $475 for a complete MRI in Texas, we can negotiate similar rates with imaging clinics here because it's cash pay and insurance doesn't get in the way. Last thing I'll tell you is I'm going to lie. I just will say there is an ROI for your community. Every citizen, their cost of entry is like Costco. It's a membership, right? It's $72 a year. I got the flu, Kale got the flu in January, and I texted the doctor. They prescribed me with Xofluza, which is way better than Tamiflu. If you ever get the flu, Xofluza is the way to go. It's expensive, but I didn't know they had a manufacturer code that saved me $90. So I saved $180 in one illness, and I would have only paid $72. And that's just one illness. So imagine the benefit that you'll have. There will be folks that don't like it going on the bill, but they won't. And what we do is we do a lot of community engagement. We will fund and sponsor things like the Cary Main Street Festival or the National Night Out. We want to have a presence there. We will have a community advocate that will come and stay here for a long time, work in the community, go to Lions Club, go to the Kiwanis Club, go to district meetings, whatever you need us to do, we do that. We created a 13 touch point plan for Algonquin that we would also implement here. But essentially, we would also put someone in your utility billing office to take the stress off of them, because I'm sure that's the number one thing is utility billing, and Public Works thinks, oh my gosh, we're going to get a ton of calls. And they will the first couple weeks, and we want to be there to take that burden off of them. So that is pretty much all I have for tonight, and I just wanted to make sure that I told you once again, thank you for letting me come, and I'd love to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much for your comments. Do you have any questions from the board here?
I have a few questions. First of all, it sounds great. I mean, I love the concept, everything like that. Just a couple quick questions for our elderly population. It sounds like they must have a smartphone.
Or know someone who does.
or know someone that does. So I just think that's important for us to keep in mind that, we do have a demographic that doesn't have that. How do they deal with, and again, I'm going to the elderly because I think that they have a tendency to go to doctors more often and may use this service more often. How do they account for like polypharmacy to make sure that they're not making sure that, doctors have to make sure how drugs interact with other drugs that they're on. So are they just going to be, every time they talk to them, go through their list of meds? Do they keep a file on them so the next time they call, they don't have to go through it again?
So when we ask them what pharmacy they would like to use,
Okay.
we then have their prescription history.
Okay,
So
fantastic.
We will know. We're a part of the Epic system, so we will see
Okay.
what they're using, what they're on, and that's part of the back end of the tech. What we are is a technology company
Right.
that is like Uber for doctors. So
Sure.
we have all that data, and we'll be able, and we always do a follow-up. Anytime there's a text, 48 hours later, we follow up, make sure they're okay. Great question, though.
One more last one, and then I'll let other people ask, because I'm sure I have more. I'm sure everyone else does too. I know you mentioned something. Do you have, is it bilingual capabilities, or what type of, what do you have with that? Is it
Any
just
language.
English? Any language? Okay, great.
So any language that we receive the text in, it will be interpreted into English or whatever language our doctor is speaking, which is going to be English right now.
Okay.
And then back to them in their language.
Okay. And then Algonquin has not started yet, or they're just getting rolled out, or where are they with it?
I was there today. It looks like August. So here's in Illinois, here's the process that they have put together that I think other villages could follow is they created a CHIP, a Community Health Improvement Program. And they're putting the final touches on it. It'll be created and it can be plagiarized by any other city. And this is one of the tenets on that program. So TAP Telehealth is one of the core competencies of their Community Health Improvement Program. Then to satisfy Illinois Home Rule City, you guys are on that border. Are you guys?
We're non-home rule.
Okay.
Non-home rule.
It doesn't matter as long as you have a public hearing. So they've created a public hearing document. They've published that or going to publish that. And then I'll go to their public hearing August 19th. And then September 16th is when they're going to approve the program. We'll do a month and a half to really market it within the community. And then we'll be ready by cold and flu season. So October, November.
And last, I see I lied too. I said I was only going to ask one more question.
That's okay.
One last question. What is the opt-out process that you kind of talked about? Is it that you have to have 90% continue on it? Is everyone automatically on it?
If I'll say in 17 cities, the most we ever had that dropped out was 65%.
Okay.
Everybody else was above 80 and some 90. The reason we had 65%, it skewed the whole number, is because there was a lady in the utility billing that she was new and just didn't understand the program. And she was telling people when they would call, "Do you want me to take $9 off your bill?" And I go, "Yeah, sure." And then all of a sudden we're seeing the numbers plummeting. So we're able to triage that and they're going back up. But
Okay.
you'll see when people are talking at the water cooler, at church, at birthday parties. I mean, Ferris, the first year, 70% of their population used the service. So
Thank you.
thank you for your
I love it,
questions.
so.
Thank you.
And just to piggyback on that, thank you for the presentation. But with that, we've had some other programs come into town where there's the opt-in, opt-out, there's letters going out, people get a little bit finicky about situations like that. It sounded to me like if the program were to be adopted by a Village of Cary, everyone would be in, and then you have to opt out. Is there any sort of time frame, or is it month to month, or lining up with your billing cycle for the utilities?
Great question. It literally is a line item on the bill, which I forgot to mention. Algonquin is considering changing their water bill to a community, or a city services bill. Because there's more than just water on their water bill. I'm assuming there's more than just water on your water bill. So they're going to call it a city services bill or a village services bill. But so the process, you have 90 days to opt out for a refund. So we would refund $18 if someone tried it for 3 months and didn't like it. They can opt out after that at any time. No penalty or anything like that. But we would you collect all of your water payments and you subtract $6 and then pay us every month. And we we will go, and if someone doesn't pay their water bill or withholds the $6, we'll still cover them for 3 months before we would consider them delinquent.
Okay. I think that was everything.
You were referring maybe to the electric cooperative?
Electric
thing?
Yep.
utility,
Yeah, yeah.
aggregation, which is more aggravation.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, $6 for healthcare versus $3 for a care flight. I mean, that's a that's a good deal.
The only other topic, and you kind of touched on it, but the communication plan for opting in, opting out, how will people know
Yeah.
what their options are?
So there's quite a bit we can do. I was thinking of having a kiosk around town where you could opt out. My son quickly said, "No one does kiosks, Dad. You need to do a QR code." So put QR codes strategically. Algonquin's thinking about putting them on like streetlights before neighborhoods that say Algonquin Healthcare Plan or Community Health, and then they scan it and the number goes into their phone as Tap Telehealth. Do you have an outbound notification system like a Code Red? If you have that, you can send texts, you can send voicemails to the community to tell them about it. Again, these big community events where we want to have a banner and we want to have a presence and we want to sponsor. And again, to give you an idea, I think our marketing budget for Algonquin is almost $100,000 that we're willing to pay. And you guys are similar in population. So we spend a lot of money on making sure people know about this. To opt out, we can do it a number of ways. We can old-fashioned way call. We can put a link on the website where you just put your water bill meter number in there or account number, and they'll take you out.
Thank you for the info.
Absolutely.
Trustee Walworth, questions?
Comments,
Comments?
questions. I want to have some context. Quick searches using our friends' artificial intelligence. Ferris, Texas, uninsured rate 40%. Not really comparable to us.
Right.
Algonquin, 7.2% estimate. Cole 7. McHenry County, 9%. Cary is just about 3%. So it's a dramatic reduction in some of these other comparisons.
Right.
So the usage, I don't think we're going to find in the same range as what you've been quoting. So that to me is a little bit an offside, and that would lend itself to ease of exit, if you will, as far as opting out.
Absolutely.
I don't know what the adoption rate would be when we only have 500 or so residents in town, mathematically speaking, that would be uninsured. So that may be a little bit of a tough haul for us. I am not discouraged by what you put out there. I think it's a quality thing to propose for community health. But to be perfectly frank, I'd like to see how it goes in Algonquin.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more comparable. They are home rule. They are 25, hell, they're probably 30,000 now, with all the growth they've had going out west. So it's a little bit different community base than we have. Not tremendously different, but it's still a little bit. I think it's something interesting in my mind that I would want to keep an eye on, but it would be a challenge for me to support something that roughly 500 to 600 people, even if we get great production and 1,000 people in town use it, and then there's 17,000 other residents that do not.
Right.
That to me would be a little bit of an uphill climb. That's just commentary for me.
Sure.
Thank you.
Could I address that?
Sure.
I would also say that you will have the reason. I mean, we have communities that are not at that level. We have communities that are similar to this in a demographic, and they still use it because it's so much easier than just having to go to the doctor, and it's just that ease of use. It's why people with more money than me pay $10,000 a year to just say, I want to text you, doc, and call you anytime. And which also begs the question, could it be 24/7? And we thought about that, and we can do that. It's a lot more expensive. And if you're that sick, and if you can't wait until 7 a.m., then we want you to go to the doctor. But we had a situation just recently in Dallas who's piloting the program, and our first person that used it, our first one in Dallas, city of Dallas, Texas, we had her in an ER on a ventilator within 30 minutes of her calling us because the text was not going well. We FaceTimed. The doctor saw her and said, "You're having lung failure." She had a secondary infection from type A flu. We called ahead to the ER, so that's another benefit. The ER was ready to receive her, put her right in, and she sent us a really nice video. Of course, it was a wonderful thing. Everybody at the office was high-fiving. But that's the kind of impact, I mean, and that's just one person. But I do get it, the optics of that, absolutely. And hey, watch Algonquin, and we'll see what their numbers.
And I think it would be valuable for us as community leaders to see that comparable data versus a Ferris, which might not be comparable in either size or uninsured rate. I think that some of those things, if you can find something that's more comparable to Cary, absolutely, it'd be data we'd like to see.
Thank you.
So I had a question on the cost. You're saying $6, and that's for the first year in. Is there a cap on what you're going to charge? I mean, every year, are you going to raise $1, $2, no dollars?
Great question. Our plan is not to raise any rates. Our normal rate is $9.
Right.
So what we're doing is $6 for the first 2 years. We do a 5-year agreement, and the next 3 would be $9.
So it's a 5-year agreement.
Yes.
And going forward, we re-vote again or opt in or out as a municipality again.
Right.
As for the opt-in, when you're talking about you can do many things, you're saying everybody has to go on to start, but could they opt out ahead of time if you're holding public meetings
Yes.
and people are showing up, you're going to retirement homes or something, and they can just say, no, we don't want it, and sign off
100%.
ahead of time?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Dudek.
You know, I like the presentation. I think that there are potential benefits to the residents. Two things kind of came to mind. Number one, I agree with Trustee Walrath that getting in early is not something I'm comfortable with at this point. I would encourage us and have staff, if they haven't already done this, reach out to communities where this is being used and speak directly with village managers in those communities, perhaps getting some, due diligence information and intelligence on how the program's been perceived, how it's been used, what kind of resident comments the village may have received, those sorts of things. And then as I'm listening to my fellow trustees comment, and I recognize the presenter doesn't know me from Adam, but based on my background, I'm sitting here wondering how in the world does this business model work financially? And it just seems one of those almost too good to be true kind of propositions, which is why I suggest that we do our own due diligence by contacting some of the towns where this might already be in place and to get some input. It just seems that at that kind of price point, while I think the services are wonderful, I feel it's hard for the business to stay intact given that kind of price offering to the users. So I guess with that, I will pass it back to my fellow board members.
Did you want to comment? And it was
Absolutely. Thank you so much for those comments. I will tell you that the reason we can do this is, for example, Geico has a $500 acquisition cost per customer that they have. And it's similar with Aflac. If you've seen the For Hims and Hers, their acquisition cost per customer is $1,200. Because we're partnering with you on your utility bill in a public health boost, you have allowed us no acquisition cost, no marketing. That's why we market a huge, we budget a huge piece for marketing and community engagement. And that's what makes it work. And that's why, and you haven't asked, and thank you so much for not asking this, because it's always a no, but can we just do it as an opt-in? Because then we couldn't afford to do it here.
Yeah, I guess just following up real quick on those last comments, and I'd ask our village attorney, if he doesn't have an immediate answer, but to at least consider this. You're a private company, I assume, and we're putting our residents through our water bill in touch with a private company through a public service. And I don't know, something about it just seems a little bit odd. I mean, we do things on our bills, don't get me wrong, but they're typically public service announcements and things. I don't know that we've ever had a private company publicized, so to speak, on a residential bill.
I don't have an immediate answer. This is a new model. I'm not familiar with it. So we would have to study it along with the administration in examining the systems that are using it and how it works, how it's publicized, how it's implemented, so.
Thank you. Trustee Stefani, are you still with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, awesome. Hey, I'm going to be straightforward here. I've always been against big government, against local economy. I'm not a fan at all around this. I think if they were to offer a opt-in to an opt-out, I would actually consider something like this. But the fact that this is not considered and that it has to be an opt-out, I am not for it at all. I do think that it is a great opportunity for our citizens of Cary. But because the fact that it is not an opportunity to opt into it, therefore I'm out on this. I appreciate the presentation, but that's kind of where I'm standing at this point.
Thank you.
Yep. That's the biggest hurdle for us, and it really is. And I wish we could do it another way. It's just financially for us, we have to have that mass of people to participate.
Yeah, I understand, and thank you very much for your presentation. I work very closely with President Sosine. We are on the same board, McHenry County Council. I think you're going to be coming to us at some point.
Yes.
To involve the rest of the municipalities of McHenry County. It's been very well received countywide, and just in first blush when people are talking about it, sounds great. And I've talked about this with staff at length, and it was just echoed by Trustee Stefani. What scares the heck out of me is the opting out. We had so many issues with electrical aggregation. That's why I called electric aggravation, because people are confused. They don't understand, and it's something that we really need to work on. I support something like this. I'm not a no. I'm not a no at all. I think this is a really great opportunity for the community. There are so many people in town that could use it, and I would venture to bet that most people would end up using it for the sniffles and the colds or sinus infections and all that kind of thing. That would be great. What I would like to see is maybe a little bit more a robust community engagement about this is coming in. Could you do an open house here, one or two, or let people know that come in and this is something that we're considering. I think it's quite valuable. I mean, you look at what it costs just to go to the doctor alone. It costs more than $72, and you have some of these things. So, like I've told President Sosina many times, I said, that opting out thing that really gives me a lot of angst. But I think that's up to us, if this is something that the village really wants to pursue, that we have to do a good job of educating our residents, that they are under no obligation to do this. It's just another step on how you can do this. And I like the idea that you said that you would help us with that you would have somebody, because, Director Noonan over there is, playing cards down there all the time, so he really can't. Kidding, Kaylin. No, but I mean, we're so busy down there that we don't have the staff, to be able to handle things like that. So that's where my concerns
Absolutely.
are. I think it's, in talking with the other mayors in our community, they're willing to have the conversation. They're kind of seeing what Sosine is doing, how her community is going to handle it. We work very well in McHenry County. We're a very tight-knit community, or county, and we work well together, and we kind of bounce off things. So I think it's something that I would be willing to pursue more, get more information, get a legal opinion, find out a little bit more about what other communities are doing, and I think I'd be a little bit more resound in my. I am. If I had to vote on something like this today, it would be a yes. I think because I believe that healthcare is very important to a lot of the people in our community, And I think there's more people in town that would utilize this than not. And I know that we have a lot of people coming in that may not have the wherewithal to afford, and we're trying to recruit more people into the community. So I would be willing to see this move forward, but some of those things, the community engagement, community involvement, getting people have an understanding of what this is about. I've never been one to just say no, no, no. I think it's important that we flush things out and be able to make an informed decision that's based on facts.
And I love the idea, maybe it was Trustee Dudek that said, let's talk to some of the cities that are doing it.
Yeah.
Correct.
They'll be the first to tell you this is the thing to do. And to your point, Trustee Collier, we had Henderson, Texas. They on next door, we were going to launch this program. We had the council meeting. They approved it. We started doing we got the schools involved. In fact, I forgot to mention this, but the average kid that gets sick at school goes to school 2.5 days faster if your school district is in a city that has this, which is more funding from the state on a daily basis. In Texas, it's $45 a day in funding that a school district receives if a child's in a seat. But people started talking on.
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm going to stop you on that part. I'd like to actually see your statistics around that.
Sure.
Because that's a pretty big footprint, and I'm actually in Texas right now, actually outside of Dallas, and to hear you guys say that, I'd actually be really curious and see where you guys are, actually in the state of Texas.
We're in Dallas. Absolutely.
To where I can actually talk to other school districts that actually have your program. I mean that's a pretty big statement. And I don't mean to call you out on that, but that's pretty big.
Well, if you would like to give me your contact info, I could connect you with those districts and those cities.
Well, yeah, 100%. I definitely think Nick or Eric can provide you my information, or by all means, you can go on our website and grab my email address. While I'm down here, I definitely like to definitely discuss that with some of the school districts that you have out here.
Perfect. Be happy to do that.
Thank you. Attorney Euler had a question.
So I think you touched on this. Trustee Dudek touched on it as well with his question. We're a non-home rule unit. So that does put us in a much different position regarding what looks like a tax. The imposition of a tax with a certain opt-out feature. For us to adopt a new tax measure as a non-home rule unit, we need statutory authority or a referendum. You're talking about Algonquin, which under its home rule authority has the ability to clear that hurdle, the tax hurdle, without some other mechanism to rely on. So if you have other non-home rule units you're in discussion with in Illinois, Illinois is unique in that respect, I think. I'm not sure we can compare what's happening in Texas or South Carolina with the forms of government here in Illinois. So
Sure.
any information you might be able to share in that regard is going to be valuable.
Great point.
I forget the attorney firm that Algonquin uses.
I think they use McCardle.
Yes, McCardle. It was their opinion, and I don't want to quote them, but to me, the way I interpreted their opinion was the public hearing and the creating the CHIP program is what allowed them to do that, would allow non-home rule cities to do that, but certainly I would want you guys to have that conversation.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah, Mark, hey, just out of curiosity, is there anyone else that you are aware of in your mayor caucus outside of Algonquin that is actually utilizing this program?
No, Algonquin is the first. She's President Sosian's the one that brought it to me, and then we decided to bring it to the McHenry County Council of Governments. So we're going to be expanding it more into McHenry County. So Algonquin is the first one, and actually they're the first one in the state of Illinois.
Okay,
So
I'm really concerned. I'm really concerned. You just stated that you guys, through the mayor Mayor Caucus are trying to expand that into McHenry County. Is that what you just stated?
Well, we're not trying to expand it, we're trying to educate people. It's through McHenry County Council, the McCog. We're trying to give them access to bring a program like this to various municipalities if they so choose.
Okay. So just so I'm understanding, you guys are trying through the Mayor Caucus.
No, through McCog, McHenry County
McCog?
Count, yes.
Okay, thank you. Trying to, I don't want to say expand, trying to educate.
Educate.
Yeah. Yep, thank you. Educate other people that this program is technically out there. But as you are aware, Algonquin is the only one in the state of Illinois that has kind of expanded into this, correct?
Correct. They're the first ones.
Okay. And if I'm fully understanding, you have to opt into this and not opt out of it, right?
No, well, the village would have to adopt the policy to bring this forward to the community,
Correct.
and then each individual each resident, if they so choose, would opt out independently.
Okay. That's exactly what I was hoping you guys were going to say. Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And to add, Trustee Stefani, I understand that other communities like ourselves are having committee discussions on this locally. I'm getting, I get calls and messages from my peers and other communities besides Algonquin that I think Brian is speaking with as well, and you can probably touch on that.
Yeah, we got double booked tonight in Fox River Grove, and then they had to call their meeting off, so we'll be back in September. But met with Algonquin multiple times, Fox River Grove in September tonight. We've met with Pingree Grove. We've met with Marengo. Marengo is doing a public meeting on August the 11th.
Yeah, and I appreciate those comments. I guess the comment I would go back at you with is that this is all from government entities, correct? This is not from actual citizens.
I don't understand the question. Could you rephrase
The
it?
question is, well, I think it's pretty straightforward. The question is, is the questions coming back to you from government entities and not from the citizens that are actually like, I guess from within the board of not elected officials? Is it elected officials that are coming to you, or is it non-elected officials?
They're coming to me? Are you directing this to me?
Yes.
No, this was an opportunity that this provider is going to start infiltrating municipalities in Illinois. They already are in Texas and in South Carolina. They've had success there, and they're trying to expand into Illinois. So somehow they landed on Algonquin, and now we're going to be educating the rest of the county to see if this is something that would interest them as well. There's no commitments here. There's no. Yeah, it's just having a conversation, letting people know that this is out there.
I'm with you that it's just a conversation. So
Right, we're not making any commitments.
I 100% understand that.
Okay. All right, so next steps, we'll do some of our due diligence, and we will be in touch. And we'll get you Trustee Stefani's contact information. You could reach out to him while he's down in
And I
the
can
Lone Star
email
City.
the referrals and the city managers in Texas that are using this as well to the two of you.
Appreciate that.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
everyone.
much.
All right.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda.
Can I comment on that for a second?
Oh, sure.
So, I have something very similar for
Could
mine.
you just state your name and?
Oh, Dylan Strite, All Marine, 126 Janice Cutoff Road, and a few other. So I have several businesses, and it's pretty hard to get health insurance for small businesses. I know a lot of people who don't have health insurance. So what I try to provide is called Push Care, which you probably have heard of before. So each business, each entity pays $29.99 a month. And then every time one of my employees uses that, I have to pay $129 for the doctor visit. And it's kind of the same thing. You have to schedule it. They call you, they do a FaceTime visit, but they always want to do a follow-up, and every follow-up is another $129. So I provide that to my employees because health insurance is so expensive. I'm lucky enough to have a wife who teaches, so I have pretty good insurance, but I have used it myself when, you know, it's a weird hour and one of the kids is sick and you can't get in somewhere. I've paid the $129 instead of going to the urgent care. So I think I understand the acquisition part of it because, I mean, I pay $6,000 plus a month just in through my social media marketer for the 3 or 4 businesses. So if you're doing it and you don't really need to spend any of that, I mean, that's just what I pay a month. It makes sense how it could possibly, you know, through local government, be obtained at that low rate. But I pay a lot more than that for a service that I don't think is probably as good as what you're talking about. I'd be very interested.
We cover up to 10 employees for you.
You know, I just want to comment on this. This is Trustee Stefani again. I respect your opinion there. My issue with this is the fact that you are asking everyone in the village of Cary to pick up the cost of that phone call in for $129, which I do not agree with. That is just, again, my stance here. I don't agree with that at all.
We'll sit down and go over this when you're here in person. I think you're misinterpreting some of the messaging here. Okay?
More than happy to further discuss, but that's
Yeah,
my
there's
take on this.
there'll be more discussions. We'll have plenty of opportunities, but you can sit down with me, Eric, and Nick, and we'll go through this all with you.
That's fine. Thanks.
Thank you. Righty. Grocery tax, non-home rule. Nick, are you doing this?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Tonight before the village board, we're going to be discussing more of a refresher regarding the grocery and non-home rule sales tax. I know in the years past, staff has educated the village board and the residents of the village of Cary regarding these two taxes. Just keep in mind that these are two separate taxes, one being the grocery tax and one being a non-home rule sales tax. So first, we'll dive into the grocery sales tax. Back in, I believe, August 2024, there's legislation that was passed that starting January 1st, 2026, the grocery sales tax will be removed for all municipalities. Thankfully, as part of that, all non-home rule and home rule communities are able to pass an ordinance to enact a grocery sales tax beginning January 1st, 2026. So the main thing regarding the grocery tax itself is that we're not implementing a new tax. We're more so maintaining and continuing the tax. You can see in the third bullet point there, if the grocery tax is not continued, impact to the general fund is approximately $200,000 this fiscal year, and then approximately $600,000 in other fiscal years and more continuing on. So again, I just want to repeat for the grocery sales tax itself is that what we're trying to do is maintain the tax. We're not trying to implement a new tax.
I'll just chime in again, just so if people choose to watch this. How this was enacted is through our processes that we work with the state of Illinois. We work to preserve our local funding. And in conversations that we've had with our legislators and the governor himself, we strive our best to maintain the current levels of funding that the state is responsible for giving us. The governor decided that he was going to remove the grocery tax, which he does not account for. He doesn't see it. It's not on his budget. He's simply a pass-through to all the municipalities. So in essence, what the state has done is they've reduced our revenue again without really giving a second thought as how it's going to affect our bottom line. So this is not a new tax. Through the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus, through McHenry County Council of Governments, and through the Illinois Municipal League, we are working together to seamlessly continue these through most municipalities are going to be acting on it in July and August. I think that the legislature figured out they made a mistake because of the outreach was fierce and overwhelming when this first did, because we had no idea. We first found out about it at the budget address that the governor put on. We had no idea that this was going to happen. So, of course, that we banded together as municipalities. There's about 1,300 municipalities in the state of Illinois banding together this. And I believe as of today, I believe 99% of the municipalities are going to be seamlessly continuing and maintaining the grocery tax as it is right now. So this is not a new tax. There's nothing new. There's nothing that, if anything, if we don't pass this, we will lose about $600,000 a year. And we'd have to be thinking about what services do we interrupt, what services can't we do, and that's something that we just don't. We're going to parlay this into the next conversation because we have a road fund that's not sustainable. We've got $65 million worth of projects that are unfunded to date over the next decade or so. So we are going to try to do what we can to maintain our current level of funding without being such a burden on our residents. So I would hope that the board would see this as the previous committee meetings that we've had on this, everybody was in agreement to continue with this. So if anybody has any other objections, wants to talk it through, let's have a conversation. Pardon me? Oh.
You did, honestly, yeah, you did a fantastic job.
I thought you were done. I'm like, okay, this is easy.
No, well said. I think with that, I think you explained it very well, so we can continue on to the non-home rule sales tax.
Can I pause you for 1 second?
Of course.
Mr. Reich, did you have a comment about that? Okay, thank you. Continue, please.
All right. So again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, the non-home rule sales tax and the grocery sales tax are two separate items. As part of the budget that was passed in fiscal year 2025, the Illinois Municipal League advocated for and secured the authority for all non-home rule municipalities to implement a local sales tax. Prior to that, it did require a referendum for non-home rule communities to move forward with a non-home rule sales tax. Also, here you could see the estimated increase in annual revenue is estimated at $750,000. That number is very hard and difficult to calculate, but it could be just around there or a little bit more that the village can generate revenue from. It allows in 25% increments with a 1% maximum rate. A lot of the nearby municipalities throughout Illinois that are non-home rule have been going with the 1% maximum. Categories that are covered when you're shopping at stores include general merchandise, apparel, furniture, lumber, and so on. It does not include food or prescription medical drug costs. Similar to the grocery sales tax, this is something that would need to receive an ordinance, approval of the ordinance, and then filed with the Illinois Department of Revenue no later than October 1st. So we are, that's the reason why we are presenting it today, so we get it in on time if that's the village board's direction. These next two slides are some charts and data. I know it's a little hard to see, but all this data reflects a lot of our nearby communities. You see Cary with the big arrow there, where we stand. The purple is the 0.25% mental health tax for McHenry County communities. You could see the blue, which highlights non-home rule and home rule sales taxes, and then also highlighted Woodstock and Crystal Lake. Looks like Crystal Lake approved a 1% sales tax for their new Water's Edge development. It's not reflected in that chart there. And then also Woodstock is considering a 25% sales tax increase, which is also not reflected on this chart at this time. 0.25%, thank you. So that's in relation to the non-home rule sales tax. And then here we have just some data throughout the Collier counties for grocery sales tax data. You can see in Cook County, Out of nearly 134 municipalities, they have 49 municipalities that have already approved the grocery sales tax ordinance, and so on with other northern Collier counties that surround McHenry here. You could see 9 have already approved of the nearly 30 municipalities in McHenry County. And as the mayor mentioned, a lot of the communities and municipalities will be moving forward with this in the next month. And then here's a chart that the village board may have seen at budget workshop meetings and also our budget meetings itself. It talks about the estimated annual revenue. If we were moved forward with the 1% local general sales tax, it's a new revenue stream for us at $750,000 estimated. And then, of course, the 1% grocery tax, continuing that tax, is estimated at $600,000. And you may ask, what can we use that money for, that additional revenue? Of course, is funding, as the mayor mentioned, our capital improvement projects and how the MFT is not substantial to what we really need to reach the PCI scores of 70 and maintain that score. So with that, I kind of flew through it, but I'd open up to any questions.
Do you want my spiel? I live and breathe this stuff every day. I mean, the meetings I have over all these different things right now, too. When we were presented with the reduction in the grocery sales tax, the governor noted the fact that he wanted to kind of level the playing field with the home rule versus non-home rule. The Village of Cary is a non-home rule village, so we don't have that opportunity right now. The governor has given us that opportunity. The way I look at it, when we tried becoming home rule, and we failed miserably at it, but IML said it would take us 18 months to educate people. We tried doing it in 3, so I guess I know why, right? Wasn't it like 3, 6 months, whatever? Part of the benefit of that is that we would be able to have a 1% sales tax if you remember, a home rule sales tax. So our surrounding communities that we could keep talking about, Lake in the Hills, Algonquin, Crystal Lake, I believe, McHenry, all the other home rules, they all have this tax now. So anybody that comes from those communities into the Village of Cary, we don't get any of that additional benefit. So I would venture to guess that I'd say, I'm going to go on a limb and say 95% of the people in the Village of Cary shop outside of the Village of Cary. So they're going to be going to our surrounding neighbors, and they're already paying that. So they're contributing to that municipalities, to their infrastructure, to their capital improvements. And what the board has talked about in the event that we choose to do this again, that this, if this tax was going to be enacted, that this money would go specifically for capital improvements, road construction. Because we typically, right now, where are we at now? About $750,000 a year that we get in MFT funds. So this would virtually double our opportunity to provide better services and better products for the Village of Cary when it comes to road construction and sidewalk improvements, all these different things that people come up and ask why we haven't done it. Well, because we don't have the money. And by leveling the playing field, I think we're going to be able to achieve that. It's never good. I've never relished the fact that we have an opportunity to do this, but we have to be good stewards of the tax dollars. We have to look at what we can do. If we continue, if you look at when we do when we look at our capital improvements and our CIP over the 5 years that we're doing, and the $65 million worth of unfunded projects that we have, it's daunting. And we need to be able to step up. And this particular tax allows everybody that comes into the Village of Cary, that utilizes our stores, our restaurants, and that, to be able to contribute to that, just like we do when we go to Crystal Lake or Algonquin or McHenry or any of the other surrounding communities. So this, I believe, will help us, because this was once before mentioned, this is more of a user tax. You choose to go where you shop. People have an opportunity to make a choice. But you go to any of the other surrounding municipalities, you're already paying that. So this gives us an opportunity, as I've said over and over again, to level the playing field, to compete just, and to be able to beef up our capital improvements and come up with more of a robust program to make sure that our roads and sidewalks and all the infrastructure that we have are well maintained.
And if I might build upon what the mayor just mentioned, you might be thinking in your head, yes, a lot of folks in Cary do shop outside of Cary. But there's also that counterpoint to, we do have a lot of folks outside of Cary that shop in Cary. We have a very strong, the grocery tax example that Assistant Administrator Ratcliffe mentioned. That's a substantial amount of revenue from the grocery sales. We have strong grocers and services in town that people in smaller communities around Cary, like Oakwood Hills, Prairie Grove, Fox River Grove, they do come to our town as well. So it's not an opportunity. There might be other sales to capture. We do strongly feel that it is something that would give us an additional boost. Unfortunately, it's not going to be the magic solution where it solves all of our road infrastructure needs. I think you saw in our budget workshops that it would take a good $4.5 million per year to really reverse that trend and get the roads to stellar conditions each year, which is always the goal in every community. It's not necessarily reality, but it's very the goal that we want to shoot for. But this additional boost, like the mayor mentioned, of almost doubling the revenue that could be attributed towards infrastructure could be a very helpful way to stop that bleeding, level it, and hopefully improve it.
So any questions or comments? Reflections?
So we're talking capital improvements. Can you just say what I know you said road and sidewalks, but what else does it entail that the money would go for?
Well,
And would it only be earmarked into that fund only?
Well, that would be up to us to decide how we wanted to do it, but I think at previous meetings, we've discussed if we had this opportunity that we would earmark it for road programs, sidewalks, various infrastructure things that we need, even offsetting the cost of some vehicles or something we talked about. So that all related to the capital.
Yeah, precisely. As we did mention at the budget workshop, it would be suggested that an opportunity to fund infrastructure, and I'm glad the mayor mentioned it, and fleet and equipment, that was another big need that doesn't have a current revenue source now that the impact fees from the gravel mining are ended. Those might not be stereotypically or prototypically infrastructure, but it does take the heavy equipment, it does take the sewer cleaner truck to maintain our sanitary and storm sewers. It takes the heavy dump trucks to fix a water main repair and things like that. So our recommendation at staff would be to keep that definition of where these funds would be applied to toward infrastructure, because that is broad enough to capture the biggest needs we identified: roads, sidewalks, water, not say water and sewer, because that does have a funding source, but I think there was a list of some examples on the slides there, but anything that would support that infrastructure as well. There are needs out there, and the flexibility that this could give us would make it easier to manage each budget cycle.
Well, and also you got to remember too, in all the village surveys that we do, what's the number one thing our residents want?
Roads.
So forgive me for going on a slight journey here.
Go right ahead.
The first thing that people talk about in the community when you talk about taxes is where can we save? Immediately. Well, we're this much short. Okay, well, where can we cut? So that automatically takes me back to just kind of our overall budget. And I look at these things in buckets. And we got 4 big buckets. The police services are one large bucket. The public works is another. Water and sewer you can set aside because it's self-funding for the vast majority of it. And then there's administrative, which is the tiniest little thimble of the bucket. So when we say there's shortcomings, and you're asking us to save instead of trying to find new revenue sources, the immediate response I have to residents, and those who have asked me this, I've heard it many times: which police officer do you want to fire? Who do you want to send home? Which water main break do we not want to repair? Because there's just enough money to barely do what we can do. I've also harped quite a bit in this community of the whole meetings about the funding sources for our roads, because our roads are the number one thing that people want to hear about. And we're well over $500,000 a year under keeping them where they're at now. So think about your roads and where you're at now. Some of us live on roads that haven't been paved. I've been there since 2015, hasn't been paved once. That's where we're at now, and we're $500,000 short of staying there. So when we talk about getting an extra, what nets to 150, because the 600 that we're getting from the grocery tax is a wash, that was what we're already getting. And then an additional, we're not even there yet. So as I've stated in previous meetings, I am behind both of these functions. I think they should be infrastructure. I would go so far as to say I would have to be convinced to put it anywhere other than roads, because that's the number one concern everybody asks for, and that's one of our number one glaring needs. So I'm in favor of both of these, and I think we strongly need to consider putting them directly into our road program.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm also in favor of the continuation of the grocery sales tax. I think that's, for me, it's a no-brainer. We need that. It can't go away. We'll be in a heap of trouble if it does go away. Regarding the non-home rule sales tax, some of the slides were indicating that this could be implemented in 0.25 increments. We saw a total projected revenue by year. If we were to go the full 1%, I'm not in the business of putting more work on people, but it would be kind of interesting to see what that looks like at the 0.25 or the 0.5 or the 0.75 in projected revenues, in case there was an appetite to not go the full 1%, but to see what those other percentages might render.
Next.
Trustee
Next,
McAlpine?
okay. I definitely agree. I don't think there's much to discuss on the grocery tax. I mean, we would not be good stewards if we did not continue that. As for the home rule, the non-home rule sales tax, we've been talking about this for many years. This is not something new. We've looked at ways, how do we do this? How can we have it so that people that are coming to our town are also helping us? Because they're using our roads, they're doing all kinds of stuff. How do we capture some of that? So I am definitely in favor of implementing that as well. I think if I looked properly at the slide, that Crystal Lake is currently at, what was it, 8.5 right now, and then you just implemented the extra one on the water's edge?
Just
Specific to that, but I'm saying even if we increased ours, we're at, what, 7.25 right now? So,
a quarter of a percent behind.
correct, we're still quite behind, you know, if we're at, if they're at 8.5 and we're at 7.25. So I do not have a problem with us enacting that, because as I said, I think that we need to do it. I think that at some point, you know, I'm one of those eternal optimists, so if we look at all of a sudden interest rates for some point in the next year or so, who knows when, but if those came down, we could look at another mechanism also to help fund some of our shortage with our roads and do something larger, but not at this time. So I would say use it towards that, but also have that flexibility to be able to pivot and use it if we need to, when and if circumstances were ever to change.
Thank you. Trustee Collier?
Was the same as before, is continuing the grocery tax, and I'm still at 1%.
Yeah.
A quarter at a time seems like a lot of extra work.
Yeah,
I mean-
well, we need it. I mean,
Plus,
we're staring it down.
Yep, it's, everybody that comes into our
Yeah.
community is paying it.
But if you look at, you know what, our biggest neighboring community is still going to have a higher tax rate than we are.
Yeah.
Trustee Dudek,
I am in favor of both of them.
Trustee Safani.
I'm in favor of both of them.
Okay, thank you. So direction, let's talk to Trustee Presina right now. Would you be okay with proceeding? Otherwise, we'll bring this to the village board, but it would be items for separate action. If you disagree with the 1% and you want to go with an incremental, then we have to have another debate about it. So if you want to concede and go with the full 1% with the majority of the board, you have that option. Otherwise, if you choose to go with the majority of the board, then we could put this on the consent, and there's no other action needed. If you want to have another debate about this or have an opportunity to discuss it, you have that option. So it's up to you.
Put me on the spot.
It's my job.
Yep. It's my job too now. If it is the majority of the board's wish to proceed with the 1%, I will agree with that, and we can move forward in that direction.
Well, I appreciate that. And one of the main reasons why is when you look at, I mean, you've been around enough, I give you a lot of credit. You've attended a lot of board meetings, a lot of budget workshops. You see our CIP program and what we have facing us. An incremental increase would take us so much longer to really achieve the goals that we're trying to do.
Understood.
You know, it's important that we, you know, I'm sure Director Noonan would agree that any project that we do, it's, you know, economies of scale. So when we do these smaller jobs, no one really wants to do them, so they bid them much higher. So we're paying more for something that could have been done. When you have a more robust program that perhaps we do something that's $1.5 million a year, we're going to get a better of economy of scale. But if we were to scale that down, the savings really wouldn't be there. Would you agree with that, Director Noonan?
Yeah, that happened with this year's program with First Street. We thought First Street was going to go, so we scaled back our roadway program. Done First Street didn't go, so we're trying to increase. So we're, infrastructure projects are constantly flowing, and we're hoping next year First Street happens, and we can increase that if, I'm not swinging one way or the other. However, if we had the additional funds of the 750, next year's program, we relying on what we currently have, knowing First Street's supposed to happen next year down the road, we wouldn't have to scale back the program as we did this year in hopes that First Street would happen next year.
Thank you. Do you have any other questions?
I think it's great points, Director Noonan and Mayor. I just want to put out there, seeing what has happened in the state of Illinois, have you seen anyone in the direction of actually steering away from the 1% grocery sales tax yet?
I have not, in all my other boards I represent, I have not heard of anybody that's steering away from that.
Okay, so, and I would agree with that too. A lot of the articles, whether it's the Trib, the Sun, a lot of other newspapers that are technically out there that have also reported on this, I think it's it would be an issue if we did not proceed with this. And, I'm really disappointed that it was taken away from us, but it's a must for at least our village that we have to proceed with this. So, cold-heartedly, I 100% agree with this.
Thank you. You good with this?
Yes.
Okay. Then we will move forward. That would be on the consent next meeting. Thank you very much on that discussion. Appreciate it. Those are always tough conversations to have, but we don't do a lot of increasing a lot of things in this village. We do a lot with a little. And I think this is a decent ask. It spreads it all out. I mean, anybody and everybody that comes in here will be helping.
Well, the whole thing was a publicity stunt by the governor.
Well, we won't get into the politics of it all, but I think it's important that we remain focused on what our needs are and what our capabilities are with the funding that we currently have. So, thank you.
Just to clarify for the public, so we will be carrying both, they're two separate items, even though we presented them together tonight. The grocery tax continuation will be a separate item on consent agenda at our next meeting. And then separately, we will have another item on consent agenda for the non-home rule sales tax at 1%.
Correct. Chris, I didn't know if you had a question. Please come up.
Yeah, I understand about the grocery tax. I was at the budget meeting, so I understand about that. But this additional 1% tax, is that something that you're just gonna actually, just throw down there? Or, are you gonna make the public aware of it at all, or?
Yeah, it's what we're doing right now is we're making the public aware of it. And the board had a discussion about it. We've talked about this in our previous budget workshops about this is the direction that we're going. So it will be enacted, I think, January 1st, 2026.
Both of these taxes will
Yes.
be?
Well,
I know the
I don't like
grocery
talking
tax
about
will-
the grocery tax as a new tax because it's not. It's a continuation of an existing tax. What's the new tax will be is the non-home rule sales tax. It will be an
Yes.
additional 1% charge that we would collect the monies, and the monies collected just from that tax alone will go to offset our infrastructure costs.
And it doesn't go on prescriptions and all that.
No. No groceries, no prescriptions, medical equipment, that type of thing. It's all exempt from that.
Okay, but, one last thing. That additional 1%, is that, gonna go basically to the
Yes.
infrastructure?
Roads, curbs, gutters, anything to do with infrastructure. We've got $65 million worth of unfunded projects, and we can start chipping away at it a little bit quicker than we have in the past.
Because a lot of,
Well, the roads that you talk about, maybe we can get to a little bit quicker.
yeah, well, yeah, hopefully. So, okay.
Thank you.
And Mayor, kind of to the point Mr. Recchi made, we can bring it forward on consent agenda at the next meeting, or we can do it the second August meeting if you would like additional time for just the outreach to sink in. It's the option of the board. We could do it next meeting or the subsequent. We could still meet the timeline for the filing with the state if we had it approved by the board on August
fine.
19th.
In fact, with moving forward, we rip the Band-Aid off. We'll move it forward.
All right, we will do that.
Thank you. And last item on the agenda, School Street parking and overnight parking restriction discussion. Chief Finland.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So what we're going to talk about here real quick is tonight the restricting parking on one side of School Street from West Main to Ada Street, and then also revisiting the overnight parking ban village-wide between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. So bringing it back to 2023, we spoke about this before. We addressed some of the issues that were discussed in 2023. For example, the downtown parking regulations, where portions of, 5 streets in downtown are restricted from overnight parking all year round. And then there's also a opportunity for individuals that are in certain buildings, apartment buildings, that they can get parking permits to park on the street overnight. And then also the Maplewood parking regulations that we left alone. We didn't address those at all. And then the issue that we're going to talk about tonight is the overnight parking. So just to kind of refresh your recollection there. So this is the area that we're talking about in regards to restricting the east side of School Street from Main Street to Ada. This is in part due to we have an apartment complex there that was just recently completed. And it's also a very narrow roadway. It's about the same width as James Way, and we had restricted parking on one side of the roadway on James Way and on Lloyd, on Margaret, in those streets because they're narrow. And what we did then is we restricted the parking on the fire hydrant side of the roadway. In this particular case, that red X indicates where the fire hydrant is on School Street, which is by the intersection of Ada and School. And it really doesn't affect the restriction on the east side of the street, number one. And number two, it doesn't really restrict or impinge upon any of the parking on the west side of the street, where most of the residences are located. There's a single-family resident on the east side of the street, but there's only one. And you can see that's their photo of their residence, and then it's a kind of a remote garage that's down the street or north of that residence. And then you'll also see there that there's a kind of a ghost Ada Street, but that was terminated when the apartment complex was completed. So right now we have restrictions on School Street, which is north of West Main Street, on the west side from West Main to Norman, and this would be, we have 64 other parking prohibitions, so this would be the 65th, and it would be School Street east side from West Main Street to Ada Street. So that would be the issue in regards to just the restricting parking on School Street. I would stop here to ask if there's any questions in regards to that, because then we're going to delve into a little bit more of a complex discussion as it relates to on-street overnight parking. Drive on? I'll drive on.
Keep going.
All
So
right.
it sounds like, before you proceed, Chief, it sounds like I'm hearing consensus to move that parking restriction forward to the next board meeting agenda.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so our next topic here is the overnight parking restriction that currently we have in place on December, January, February, and March. So on those 4 months, people are prohibited from parking on the roadway from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. With the exception, as I indicated before, is that we carved out the downtown parking, and we've also have a remedy for those people that have lack of off-street parking for some of the multifamily buildings that are non-conforming as it relates to off-street parking. So the streets that we prohibited parking between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. throughout the year are West Main Street from High to Jandis, Jandis Road, Spring Street, Cary Street, and then High Road. And then the next side would be just the exemptions and how we carved out those exemptions for all-night parking for the specific buildings downtown. And then there's also a specific place that those individuals that have those parking permits can park, and that is on Cary Street between Spring and High on the south side of the street, or on the west side of High Road between West Main and Cary Street. So just kind of a barometer or a survey of area municipalities that have overnight parking restrictions year-round. You can see here that this is the same list that I had presented before. Fox River Grove and Cary tend to be the outliers, and then we included Marengo because we now have a Marengo connection, number one, and number two. When we looked at this, the Assistant Village Administrator said that Marengo prohibits parking between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. And when I did the research on the ordinance, they restricted outside of the central business district. So they did exactly the opposite of what we did right now, is we restricted it downtown. They have it as an exemption, and then everywhere else, people cannot park on the roadway between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. So the next, some of the issues that allow for, easier enforcement of certain issues that are presented to the police department and sometimes community development as it relates to having the ability to park on the roadway is if we have a restriction between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m., that it's easier to determine what vehicles have been there for over 24 hours. If we have the parking permits in place, we can obtain information from, if we carve out certain roadways, if that's the direction that we want to look at. For example, like First Street, Second Street, and Sunset, where there's apartment complexes, and they do tend to park on the roadway pretty regularly during the times that it's allowed, but they do find areas to park during those December, January, February, and March months. We have also addressed some issues as it relates to using the roadways or streets as storage areas. We've required through our ordinances that a trailer has to be connected to a power unit to be parked on the street. But what that does also is there are some business uses that have trailers that people are operating out of their residences, and they can just park the trailer and their power unit in front of their residence. And we receive complaints about those types of uses of the roadway, and there's really nothing we can do in regards to they're conforming to the current ordinances that we have in place. It certainly does address the ability to keep vehicles from being parked on the roadway for storage. We just had one on Ada that went from community development to the police department, where it was parked on the roadway, and someone called in to indicate that it was potentially leaking gasoline and oil, and we went there. But again, it was parked there on the street, and it could be parked there, and we were able to address that in regards to the petroleum products that were coming out of the vehicle. And then again, as I indicated before, some of the streets may need to be exempted if we did decide to restrict our parking overnight, because there is a desire, probably a need to have the availability to park overnight during those adjacencies to some of the multifamily residences that we have. So that's all I have. I know that we said in 2023 we would revisit it, so this is an opportunity to revisit the ability to consider enacting an ordinance that would prohibit parking year-round overnight between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m.
And to add on what the chief mentioned, a few more examples of other things and challenges that staff faces. We do get, obviously, we just discussed a parking restriction ordinance with regards to a narrow roadway. So again, having long-term vehicles parking overnight, if not longer, on these narrow streets does tend to create more challenging ways for cars to get through those roads or back out of driveways on the opposite side of the parked vehicle. And then secondly, the other example of stored vehicles, I think just at one of the last board meetings, we had a resident come in and express concerns about an employee of a school district outside of Cary, but that utilizes that school bus as a take-home vehicle and parks that vehicle overnight. And it does make it challenging for the neighbors when that vehicle is parked longer term and longer periods of time. So vehicles like that, not picking on that one vehicle, but vehicles that size can also cause issues when parked overnight or long-term. So for consideration, we're looking for feedback if the board would like us to consider looking at an ordinance change consistent with other communities around us, or if you'd like the status quo.
Yeah, and just to dovetail on the school bus issue is there are certain exemptions in regards to, you might think that a school bus might be exempt because, or might be restricted because of its weight, but we have exemptions in our ordinance that address refuse collection, school buses, things like that, and it falls within that exemption where it's allowed to be on that roadway in residential areas.
Any discussion, comments?
Is School Street the last narrow road that we don't have restricted?
That's a very good point, because that's what I was going to ask. Pardon me? Yeah. No, that was going to be my, because, we seem to be chipping off these things as I'd kind of like to see if we become a little bit more proactive, if maybe Public Works can do an inventory on some of the streets that we have that are as narrow as this. Is that something that we should just unilaterally do for public safety? I mean, you think about emergency vehicles, fire truck, ambulance, trying to get to and from with if there are cars parked. So I think we had done that years ago, but I don't think that we've ever done a robust one.
I believe, yeah, myself and the village administrator, when he was director of Public Works, we kind of went through 2nd Street and all the, James Way, Lloyd, Margaret, and addressed those issues. And that was primarily from complaints from bus drivers. They were having some difficulty navigating those roadways, and they weren't able to get the buses through if they had conflicting traffic, in opposing direction.
And I'm recalling many years ago when we had that conversation, I think we did look at other roadways, the last kind of chunk that we took care of. I think it was around the time we were looking at Mildred down by the river. I believe we had also labeled other roadways of similar width, but the direction at that time was to just take care of the ones that we needed to and not disrupt the status quo at that point, since there weren't complaints yet. But we are happy to take a proactive approach and relook at those if you'd like.
Any comments on that? I mean, I was just throwing it out there. I'm just thinking, because it seems like they come back one at a time, and it's a matter of time. I know the chief would want prohibit everything and anything all the time, but
I would say that, number one, safety's the main issue. So if there's something that we have to do to make sure that fire trucks can get through, that emergency vehicles of any type, that they're not inhibited by being able to get through, then yes, I'd like to see that get addressed. I'm probably a little bit more lax on some of the other ones, because I like to have people have autonomy, but I'm open to everyone's thoughts on it.
well, we're going to switch it up. I'm going to go to let's go to on the line, out there in space somewhere. Trustee Dudek.
I would like to set aside the recommendations made now, do a full study, do everything at one time. If it takes another 3 to 6 months, so be it. We're 2 years late from the 2023 recommendations, so I think we should do the whole thing at one time.
Trustee Stefani?
I would agree with that. I do want to add to it that I want to make the same recommendation that I made numerous times on being on the board, that I do think that we need to look at actually putting live camera feeds in our downtown square sector. I do think that is a need, especially with the more a bigger footprint that we are making down there currently. That is something that I think that we need to consider.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I think that would be something that's that's separate than the discussion about parking prohibition and that kind of stuff. So I'd be happy to bring that back to a committee discussion to discuss that with the chief. And do you have any comments regarding parking, isolated parking, parking restrictions, any of that?
Well, and that's why I brought it up, because that type of camera system would actually track that type of information. So that's why I was bringing it up.
Are you talking about a camera system that would identify cars that have been parked there for a long period of time?
100%.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not monitoring, but these are cameras that identify license plates and the length of time that they've been parked there.
Correct.
Is that something that we want to talk about now or at another meeting? Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, we can do separate. That's fine.
yeah. We'll move on forward. All right, Trustee Walrath.
All at once on the side streets.
I'm a little bit new to this topic. I am comfortable with making the update for any streets that are narrow, understanding that it could cause an issue. I also understand the need for the parking restrictions specifically during the winter months. Totally on board with that. We got to get the snowplows in there. Part of me does like the ability to have cars on the street where appropriate overnight. I might be a little bit of a black sheep on this one, but I don't know if a sweeping measure is completely necessary. I understand that some people abuse the use of parking on the street or having additional vehicles out there. I'm more in favor of a bit of autonomy as well, in that I don't know that I would be in favor of doing a sweeping thing of nobody on the street overnight all year round. I think it is nice when you have out-of-town guests staying, comes in handy.
Yeah, we do have the opportunity when out-of-town guests come and go on our website, and you can request overnight parking.
Thank you very much for that.
Hey, I have to do it all the time. We got a lot of people that come to my house, and there's just no room. So
Sure.
you have to on occasion, but happy to have a conversation. Trustee McAlpine, you were...
I'm right there with, if we want to do it all at once with all the side streets that are narrow and need to do something, that makes sense to me, to say one and done versus, hey, we're going to do this street, then 6 months later, we're going to do this street. So I'm definitely open to that, but as I said earlier, I'm still, I'm not necessarily in favor of just saying no overnight parking, period.
I tend to
No,
agree.
either we'll still go back to the one point that the resident brought up last time about the school bus parking and kind of blocking the way. Is that the issue, or is that the size issue that we allow those to park overnight?
I think it's an issue that the school bus is there. I think there's maybe a line of sight issue as well that he had indicated, because it's a bigger vehicle, number one, and number two, Cary Wood Circle tends to have curved roadways.
Just quickly, we do have an ordinance that says people can't be parking in the middle of their yard. Is that correct?
I defer to the community development people.
Yes, yeah, it has to be parked on a paved surface.
Right. So I just want to make sure everyone knows that we already have that in place.
Was that your question, Mrs. Ritter? Did you have a question? Why don't you come up to the podium, please?
Martha Ritter, 239 North School Street. Can you park on the skirt or whatever you call that thing?
The apron of your driveway?
Yeah.
You're asking if you can park parallel to the roadway on the bottom of the driveway?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. In between the sidewalk and the
So
curb,
so long
yes.
as you don't block the sidewalk.
Yeah, not over the sidewalk.
Okay, and then you answer my, because I want to know if you park in your yard. Is it, so it's no?
No.
You cannot park just in your yard. You have to be, as Brian said, as
paved
Director
surface.
Simmons said, it has to be on a paved surface.
Okay.
All right, Trustee Collier, did you have anything else?
No.
You're good?
Yep.
I think staff has direction.
Okay, so it sounds like, I know previously I asked if we had the school street parking restriction on the next agenda. You already have it ready. Are you okay if we proceed with that and then proceed with preparing a encompassing ordinance for narrow streets at a future, for a
Yes.
future discussion?
Yes,
I think we prefer not to wait on school streets since that's already evaluated. Okay.
yes. That's fine.
And then we will not
play
pursue a
catch-up.
change in the overnight parking.
Not yet.
All right, thank you.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at 8:12.